So in this video, I'm only looking at a small bit of audio, and it's audio from the Globe and Mail podcast, and specifically looking at when they spoke to Malehya's father and his mother, so Malehya's grandmother. So even though it is a rather short bit of audio, I think it's important because there's some very important information that we can glean from it. I think it gives us some very important insights. And of course, aside from that, after the two-part, rather lengthy discussion and analysis of the recent Daniel Martel interview, this just gives my brain a bit of a break. So on that note, let's just jump straight in.
And we were able to find Malehya's father. So this is the grandfather of Jack and Lily. We found him through an address we obtained from a parking ticket he had in Halifax, right? And got an address outside of Sabanakani First Nation, and went and knocked on his door, and he was happy to talk.
I didn't hear about this. It happened on a Friday. I didn't hear nothing until like a Sunday.
Oh, jeez.
I was really upset.
Now, I didn't actually keep the screenshot, but I'm so sure most of you have seen it. Within the first couple of days of the children going missing, there was a screenshot taken from Malehya's Facebook account where her father was basically questioning her via Facebook. How come you didn't tell me the children are missing? And the thing that really strikes me in terms of her not contacting her father and telling him that the children were missing is that he's a tracker. So had the children really been off in the woods somewhere, lost in the woods, you would think that the first person she would call would be her father, who is a tracker. But the fact that he didn't even hear it from her, that says a lot. I said right from the get-go that I strongly suspect the reason that she didn't contact him was because he probably would have said, right, I'll be there. And she didn't want him to be there because he would have said these children didn't go off into the woods.
Have you been in it? Like, if the police come and asked?
Nope.
Nothing.
Never asked me anything.
I do find it interesting that the police didn't go and interview him or his mother. I mean, you could say, well, okay, he didn't see the children after Daniel moved them off to the place out at Gairloch Road. But at the same time, they did go and interview Belinda and Cody. But then I guess you did have Malehya ringing them in the middle of the night saying, oh, you should probably check out Cody. So it could be that that's the difference in terms of why they went and spoke to Belinda and Cody, but they didn't go and speak to Henry, Malehya's father. It's also quite possible, given that he is a tracker, that Malehya basically did the, well, I don't really see my father, and downplayed her relationship with him, thinking maybe if they went and interviewed him, he might decide that he was going to offer his services to go out and search. That said, I'm surprised that he didn't anyway. I'm really curious about that.
What do you remember about the kids?
Kids, they were happy.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah?
Yes. Every time I seen them, they always lived at their grandmother's in Truro.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at their great-grandmother's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
At Patty Carter's. That's where I used to go visit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of telling. He's saying that basically, he used to go visit them at Paddy's place, meaning that Malehya clearly didn't go out of her way to take her children to spend time with their grandfather. Now, we don't know when Malehya's parents separated or what that whole family dynamic is like, So we don't know what her relationship with her father is like. But, you know, at least there is enough of a relationship there that he was actually going and visiting the children over at Paddy's. But it is interesting that she wasn't taking them to see him. At the same time, I think most people would agree now that Malehya seems extremely self-absorbed. I mean, we heard in this same podcast Belinda saying how after Malehya and Cody separated that they would go to see the children. She did mention that Malehya would take the children to see her as well, but she did say, look, you know, with Christmas, birthdays, that sort of thing, they would be the ones that would have to go over to visit the children. So it sounds like it's a universal thing. She just couldn't be bothered taking her children to visit their grandparents. I mean, even when they were living in Gairloch Road, we're hearing that basically Cindy would go and collect the kids and take them for the day. We know that she would take them to Paddy's place, but at the same time, we know that she was milking Paddy dry in terms of finances. I mean, Paddy even bought her a car after her spending money from Paddy's credit card, allegedly. That's what Wade is telling us anyway. So it does make me question if maybe Malehya is one of those people where you have to buy her time. You know, the whole currency of, well, you come over to my place and you can do your laundry and I'll give you money for groceries, which seems to be what was going on with Paddy. Belinda, we've heard her say that, you know, she's not a wealthy person. So for Malehya, there's probably not a great deal that she could get out of Belinda other than having someone to babysit the children when she wanted to dump them somewhere for the day. I mean, really, thanks to Belinda's willingness to share, I think we can see that Malehya is somewhat self-absorbed and a little bit selfish. Her treatment of Belinda is really not so great. Now, I just want to comment on the noise in the background while he's talking, because it sounds like either some sort of weird thing that's making a lot of noise, like some sort of machine, or someone who is doing a lot of tapping. And it makes me question if maybe he has ADHD. Possibility? Because the thing is, when it comes to ADHD and autism, they're genetic. Sorry, they're not caused by Tylenol. They're genetic. So when a child has ADHD, then you will find that there is an adult in their family who has ADHD or autism. Of course, the tapping could be completely unrelated, but it was just a little side note that I just wanted to add in there.
What? Until this guy moved him away, and that was the last time I seen him.
It seems like we're getting more and more pieces of the puzzle here. Every person that we've heard from who is from Malehya's side of the family in some way, or at least Malehya and Cody's side of the family in some way, is telling us the same sort of things. They're telling us things which point towards a coercive, controlling, abusive relationship. He's saying here that after Daniel moved her away, so he's acknowledging it in the way that I would, not after she moved away with Daniel, but he moved her away, that he didn't get to see his grandchildren anymore. That is like number one in the handbook of controlling abusive relationships. You isolate the partner. And that's what he's done. He isolated her from her father. He isolated her from Belinda. We heard Jamie say that she never saw any of Malehya's friends come to the house. I'm certainly not giving Malehya a free pass here. She should have put the well-being of her children ahead of all else. And yet she was willing to isolate them as well, basically. Daniel took her away and isolated her from her family, from her connections. And she allowed that, and she allowed that for her children also. I mean, the thing that breaks my heart is that you can see in the photos like these ones that have come from Belinda how happy and healthy these children were. And yet the latter photos, when they're a little bit older, when they were living in that house, they didn't look happy or healthy. Well, Lily seemed to have been able to find a smile all the time, which is just so sweet. But, you know, when you look at this photo here, and she looks healthy, she looks like she's a healthy weight. And then you look at some of the photos before they went missing, and she's a stick. She was so skinny. And while I have no intention of posting any photos on here of Meadow, if you've been onto Daniel's Facebook recently, you'll see he's been posting photos from when he's had his visitations with Meadow. And the difference in her over this nearly 5 months is very, very noticeable. She's a much, much healthier looking child now.
And so he took us to his mother's house, Connie Brooks, in Indian Brook. It's part of Spaganagity First Nation. So we went to her home and we saw family photos all over the wall, some of Lily and Jack, some of Malehya as a child.
Yeah.
When's the last time that you got to see Lily and Jack?
I seen Lily last year when she brought her up here.
Yeah.
Yes, the last time I seen Lily.
Interesting that she only got to see Lily at that time and not Jack. They would have been living at Gerlock Road at that time, and I wonder if maybe Jack had bruises that Malehya didn't want her grandmother to see. Because it certainly seems like those kids did pretty much everything together. And when we look through the RCMP reports, or we hear different stories, but one of the versions of the why Jack wasn't at school wasn't about him being unwell as well. It was Lily had a cough, and yet they kept Jack home as well. I'd be interested to know when last year it was, because we know from listening to this podcast that one of these reporters had been looking through the Facebook page for the kids' school and found a photo of Jack with a black eye from December last year, which, by the way, Daniel wouldn't give an answer as to how Jack got it. And then Daniel did acknowledge that Jack used to get lots of black eyes and bruises. So is that why Malehya only took one child out to see their great-grandmother? Was Jack at home with a black eye, maybe? Or was it one of these instances that Janie claims occurred where Cindy picked up one child for the day? Maybe Jack was with Cindy and Malehya took Lily to visit her great-grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when they took them pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Lily and Jack ever learn anything about their Mi'kmaq heritage?
No, because they lived off the reserve.
Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it, that it appears that Malehya snubbed her heritage somewhat. Sounds like she didn't actually visit her father very often. She didn't teach her children about their heritage. And yet, what does she do after all this happens? Well, allegedly, she went and hid out on the reserve. Now, I have a question that maybe some of my Canadian viewers can answer. In Australia, there is funding for public schools that they basically employ an Aboriginal person to go into the schools, and they actually teach Aboriginal heritage and stuff to children who are identified as having Aboriginal heritage themselves. So it's a way of just maintaining their culture. So my question is, in Canada, do public schools have something like that for children like Jack and Lily who don't live on reservations and just go to your everyday public school? Because more often than not, you get children like Lily and Jack who do come from a disadvantaged background, and giving them this chance to have this special attention, giving them a chance to learn about their heritage, can have such a huge impact on them. And, not the least of which being the fact that it provides an opportunity to support their learning. So when children are behind in the classroom, whether it's developmentally or through their learning or both, then that extra one-on-one or small group work, because of their heritage, can be so important.
Times they didn't. When they come up occasionally, whatever she brings them up and visit. Yeah.
She brought them up, and did you show them anything?
Yeah, we showed them everything, and then.
So it seems like what she's saying here is that while the children didn't really know about their heritage, on those occasions when Malehya took them to visit her, then she would show them things. Sadly, it sounds like Malehya didn't take them to visit her nearly enough.
And Connie Brooks told us some interesting information. Malehya had been there to get her status card updated, so she is a member of the First Nation, and she visited her grandmother and other relatives, and her grandmother asked her about her relationship with Daniel Martel.
She don't know, but I asked her, did he hurt you? She didn't really say he hurt her, but he held her down. He held her down and took her phone on her, and she couldn't talk. She couldn't loudly use the phone.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least of him taking her phone off her. That is another thing that you hear so very often in these abusive, coercive relationships. You just look at the Gabby Petito case, and her best friend Rose was saying how Brian used to be really controlling over Gabby being able to contact Rose and over Gabby's phone. And it seems to be something that you see more and more, where that need to control who you're in contact with, the need to make sure that you're not in contact with the wrong kinds of people, the need to keep tabs on you 24/7. And to do that, they take the phone. Now, I'm not sure if it came from the documents or if it came from Janie. If it came from Janie, that means that it might not be 100% true. But we've heard comments that basically when Malehya contacted the school and said the children weren't going to be in, that she did so on Daniel's phone. We know that when Malehya left, they ended up having to tow her vehicle. And I can't help thinking, especially now that we've heard the argument between Cheryl, I think it was, and Logan, where they basically admitted that the second fight was over Malehya's car and Malehya's phone. So I can't help thinking that maybe the reason why her car was towed was because Daniel wouldn't hand over the keys. Because we know from a few accounts that he drove her car around on the day that the children allegedly went missing. As for the updating her status card, I'm a bit frustrated with this reporter for not being really clear with what she's saying here. I'm thinking that she is meaning that Malehya basically updated her status card after all this happened in order to basically move into the reservation. But she hasn't offered us enough clarity there. But, you know, like I said, sounds like Malehya has basically pretty much ignored her heritage until all this happened, and now suddenly she's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't remove that. The kids, they have indigenous heritage, and they're on their mother's side. Their grandfather is a member of the Mi'kmaq community. The kids do not have official status with that community, but certainly the Mi'kmaq community has been involved in the search and providing legal assistance to their mother. So it is a part of the story.
So I wanted to play that last part for two reasons. First of all, the statement that the children do not have official status, which basically proves that Durwood is a complete utter liar. Because he kept making these claims that, well, you know, how come the day that they went missing they got given official status? No, they didn't. They do not have official status. And you can bet that these reporters have confirmed this. He's also given confirmation that Malehya has a lawyer from within the community. And what I find really interesting is the comment that the Mi'kmaq people did help with the search. Because that's the first we've heard of this. So I'm wondering if they did send any trackers in. I'm wondering if Malehya's father did go in. If so, why was it kept quiet? Did they send trackers in and the trackers said the kids didn't go into the woods? Is that the reason why they brought in the major crimes unit on day 2 and the reason why they basically downscaled everything on day 6? Because that's moving really, really quickly. So anyway, like I said, this is a short one. But I thought there were some really important things to look at in this one. So I did want to do this separate video where I looked at Malehya's father and grandmother back to back. Because really, we did get some rather important information or valuable information from listening to this clip. I would love to hear more of the interview with these two individuals, because you can bet that this is not the full interview. So I'd love to know what else was discussed. But anyway, on that note, thanks for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Of course, please do hit that like button and please leave a comment below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I've begun to wonder